My name's Callum Elson. I'm a professional athlete for Hoka, and in February this year, I ran the 7th fastest ever indoor mile by a British man. A month later, I had an injury in my biggest race to date. And it's now 164 days later, and I'm about to try and run again. Yeah, so in January this year, I went on my first kind of proper training camp as a professional athlete after recently signing my contract around the same time. Headed out to South Africa, trained with some new guys. You know, things are going well. I was lifting my volume, I was fit. I've never really had an injury. It's not been something that I'd really considered. I'd had the odd day off here and there for a few niggles, but nothing serious. Got into some really good shape, did a few races in Europe that went okay, and then headed out to Boston for a shot at the indoor world qualifying time, which was 3:53.5. Had a great race, just got through on the skin of my teeth, ran 3:53.2, achieved the qualifying time, and then headed to the UK National Championships. Finished with a silver medal, which qualified me for the World Indoor Championships. For me, this was like an unbelievable breakthrough. I've represented Great Britain on the road and at cross country, but track for me personally is just on a slightly different upper echelon of that kind of, elite tier, and making a indoor or an outdoor team on the track is a really big achievement. So naturally, I was excited, bounding into Glasgow in front of a home crowd and ready to rock and roll at an indoor championship. I had a difficult heat draw, but that kind of excited me because everyone knows when there's a stacked heat and it's on TV, and there's a lot more anticipation around good races. I had athletes like Hobbs Kessler and Jordy Beamish in that went on to actually win medals at the championships. So it was always going to be difficult to get through, but anything can happen in the heat, and I was in shape. I thought I had a good shot. And life throws things at you. A couple of laps in, maybe 600 meters in, an athlete stood on the back of my heel with his spikes on, and it sliced through my Achilles tendon, which I didn't know had happened at the time. Obviously I had to stop, and I was on the floor and I was in some extreme discomfort, but being naive, I didn't even consider that it was a possibility that something like that had happened until I was wheeled off the track, getting stitches into my Achilles, and a lot of concerned faces from team staff were around me, and that's when I started to think, okay, this could be pretty bad. And while my attitude, generally speaking, is optimism, positivity, just if you don't laugh you'll cry, that was a pretty tough night to go back and be sat in a hotel room thinking the results of an MRI scan tomorrow are going to determine whether this is a flesh wound and I'll be out for a month, or if I'm sat here making a video about it 6 months later. A really good thing for me personally was I was told from the start how bad it was going to be. Once I got the results from the MRI, I had a partial tear in my Achilles that was going to require surgical intervention in order to help it heal. I was told, look, 6 months until you start training again. So it's the whole of the summer, it's an Olympic year, it's all the races that you would do across Europe, trying to get personal best, now I'm a professional, trying to achieve bonuses and earn money from running. And all of that was immediately out the window. But I'm not going to lie, it's not something like it hit me and I broke down in tears and I thought this is the end of the world. I don't think it sunk in until a few weeks later, after I'd had the surgery itself, as to when I came out and I had my foot in a plaster cast, and I thought, okay, this is pretty bad. Like, I can't even walk around the house. It's painful. I feel so far from being an international athlete. How am I ever basically going to be able to run again? And it wasn't a case of sitting at home and just crying and being like outwardly kind of depressed in the sense that I feel terrible. Generally speaking, I'd say 99% of the time, super positive, getting after it, doing the training I can, doing rehab, listening to what advice people are giving me. But the 1% of the time that I did feel kind of vulnerable and feel like, bloody hell, will I be able to do it again? I'd say kind of it's only 1% of the duration, but the overall impact it has on you is far greater. So yeah, it's a rough time. It's not all doom and gloom though, and I don't want to sit around and feel sorry for myself. Athletes get injured, it's part of the sport, and there's been people that have had way worse injuries than me, and there'll be people after me that have way worse injuries. But I want it to be a true and honest reflection of kind of how I've been feeling, and part of documenting this through all of these Down Button Out series videos has been to show you how I'm feeling at different times, and something I can reflect on. One thing that's been invaluable is the support system around me. People like you guys that watch the videos or follow me on social media and send messages or leave comments. My girlfriend and my family and friends that are around me to check on me or have a laugh or know when to kind of give me a kick up the arse to get into gear. And of course my sponsors, Hoka, standing by me with an athlete contract, my nutrition companies and things like that, and obviously the sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. Alright, we're back in the kitchen with HelloFresh. If you watched the last video, we rustled up a beautiful steak. Today, we're trying to slim things down a little bit. We've got a shawarma-inspired chicken in a smoky sauce. All the ingredients arrived yesterday, which is lucky for me because I've just got back from Paris, was watching the Olympics, didn't do my usual shop, but could rely on HelloFresh to come through. The great thing about this, and this has been super convenient today since Charlie arrived, was super busy. I looked at what number this was, number 48 on the menu list. Everything I needed was in this bag. As you can see, I've just laid it out there. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty healthy one. Bit of chicken, bit of a carb there with some bulgur and the courgettes for some vegetables, which should be nice. And a little treat, because Charlie's being a good boy. Afterwards, we've got these goo cheesecakes, little salted caramel number. These should be lovely and refreshing because it's about 31 degrees outside in England. If you want to be inspired by this and you're thinking, bloody hell, Callum's a good chef, how do you make it look so easy? You can get your own HelloFresh delivered to your house. If you use code DISTANCE60, you're going to get 60% off your first order and free desserts for life. And they are some seriously good desserts, so you should probably do it just for that. Thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. As I mentioned earlier, the support genuinely means a lot. Helps us make these videos, helps me get along as an athlete and get some good scram inside my belly. So big up HelloFresh, and probably time to cook. Chicken and greens, eh? Chicken and greens, that old chestnut. So there we have it. This is the shawarma-inspired chicken. A misconception that I personally had before I dealt with HelloFresh. I thought that any sort of food delivery service was probably going to be quite small on the portion sizes, but what's really good about HelloFresh is you can select how many people you're getting it for, 2, 3, 4 plus people. So maybe if you're a big eater or you need more protein, you can opt to get for an extra person. And it doesn't add too much to the cost. We've got some seriously big portions here. It's going to fill us up for a day of training. See if we can eat all that. Spoon or a fork?
Both, please, if possible.
It's paper item on the washing up, by the way. So I was referred from British Athletics to some top surgeons. A guy called Professor Nicola Mafuli was who kind of looked after me, and his advice is very positive and optimistic. He says kind of never stop, i.e. keep moving. The more you do now while you're injured, the less you're going to have to do once you recover from the injury. And that meant for me buying a bike, getting it in-house straight away so I wasn't crutching around everywhere, although I did have to do a few sessions at the gym down the road, and just starting to get the blood flow going, start mentally trying to feel a little bit better about myself and think, okay, let's be proactive. What can I do to get back? I'm still an athlete, still have that kind of athletic mindset. And I had the cast on for 2 weeks. That was an experience. It was pretty sweaty, as you can imagine, once that got taken off. And then I transferred into a boot, which I think I had on for about 12 to 14 weeks in total, before I gradually started coming out of it. And there was days when it'd be really, really aching. I'd have to just lay in bed and it'd be throbbing and I'd think, oh, this is terrible, it feels like a step back. And then maybe I'd wake up the next morning and feel like, wow, I feel amazing. Like, I don't need to use my crutches today, I can get around. And I'd say was the pattern of that time. It was up and down. It was 3 steps forward, 1 step back, or 3 steps backwards and 5 steps forward. It was a completely crazy time, and with that came a lot of mood swing behavior from me, where I'd be down at the track watching the guys doing the splits, thinking this is awesome, positive, go to the pub and be buzzing about my recovery. And then I'd come back home, and other days I'd be sat on the sofa and my girlfriend would be like, is everything all right? And I'd be like, oh, just don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to run again. It's pretty depressing. So yeah, rough time physically and emotionally, but got over it, managed to get the boot off, and managed to get back to an element of run walking, which is now at week 20. Well, I think we're at week 21 as of recording, which is the next big step. Getting back on my feet, doing all of my rehab that I've been able to do, and trying to put one foot in front of the other again. And that is a whole different kettle of fish. So 2 weeks ago, I did my first run walk, and it was an experience. The weather showed up in England. I was topless, half tights on. Honestly, anyone would have thought I was doing a full-blown session. Just starting with 1 minute running intervals with 1 minute walking in between. And honestly, the first few reps was like pretty alien. I was a bit concerned. It felt like I was almost running on nails, in the sense I was trying to be super careful. But once I got into it, I was flying, and the pace was actually way quicker than I would normally do an easy run. I was clearly excited, there was adrenaline going through, and honestly I could have kept going for ages. And I left that run thinking like, wow, I've just done 2 or 3 miles worth of running and walking. It's gonna be easy, like I'll just crack on. And even though I have advice from my physios and doctors and everything that I listen to, and I've followed the program, less than a week later I'm doing my 3rd run, and the feelings couldn't be any more different. And I'm thinking, wow, my legs hurt so much, my quads feel battered, my ankle hurts, and all the worry started to creep in of, am I making this worse? Could I get an injury again? Like, am I going to get a bone injury now because I've not used it for so long? And honestly, as much as there's physical discomfort, the mental strain that I found from pure naivety of completely underestimating how hard the running was going to be, and all this time in my head for the last 6 months, I've had run walk as the final destination, be like, once I'm back running, great, that'll be fine. And what I've realised in this last week or two is this is just the start of the whole next chapter of recovery, which is going from, okay, I have a functioning Achilles, to how do I get back to being a really good runner? And that's going to be difficult. It's an exciting challenge, and it's way better than being sat on the sofa with crutches, but yeah, it's going to be tough, and it has taken quite a mental strain. I've been frustrated more than anything, not upset or down in the dumps, just angry at the world, wanting just to get out there and run. But I know I've got to trust the process, take the time, all those cliche things. It's just way harder than I expected, which again was probably naivety on my part. One thing we've not done on the channel for a while is go for a run. 164 days to be exact. Myself and Charlie started this channel to document my running. We've had to pivot, we've had to bring in other runners because I've not been able to do it. But finally, as you've seen by the title of the video, the time has come. We're gonna go for a run with a bit of walking. Let's go see how it looks. All right, welcome. It's a run day, which for me is good because it means I only had easy cross training this morning. This is actually week 4 of my return to run, which feels like ages, but you don't start with much, so we're not actually that far in. Skyflow, I think they're called. Pretty good shoe actually. But yeah, a little bit about this return to run. Essentially, I'm building it up in a run walk format where I run for a certain amount of time. So to start with, it was 1 minute, and then I walk for a minute. So I started off with 10 times 1 minute on, 1 minute off. Every week or few days, however I feel, I try and build it up. So as of now, I'm at 10 times 3 minutes running and 1 minute walking. So total of 40 minutes. Which feels pretty good, but it's not been linear at all. For example, when I got up to, I think, 15 times 2 minutes, I started to get quite a lot of pain, and I had to reduce it all the way back down to the 1 minute intervals and start again. So yeah, it's not been linear, it's been pretty frustrating, but my body's in a good position right now. And I've started to really look forward to the runs because 1, it's less boring than cross training, and 2, I feel like a runner again, and I'm actually starting to move at a pretty good pace now. I'm running at about 6:30s, which is actually faster than I would normally do my easy runs, but that's how my gait and my biomechanics feels best. So let's get that done. You're going to be able to keep up. I'm pretty fit these days.
How's it all been feeling so far?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's one of those where sometimes it feels like you're not going to be able to do it, and then once it warms up, you're like, actually, this feels unreal. Go this way, Charlie. Yes, boy. I'll do a bit of tempo in a minute, lads. Ow! I'll do a bit of tempo in a minute. Yeah, no, it feels good. Just to be on grass, keep going around to the left. Grass, soft surfaces, gradually building up the volume. Feels like you can't really do it to start with, and then once you get going, you're like, actually, it feels amazing. And then the vibes are good. So yeah, 10 times 3 minutes, here we go. What is annoying is these walks, like this minute just drags. As much as you kind of think that it's gonna be a nice rest, you're just like, come on, I want to get out there and get running again, which, yeah, is a bit annoying, but I think it's good mental discipline in order to make sure that I do a full body check to be like, okay, I've just run for 3 minutes, how do I actually feel? Can I keep pushing on? Am I pushing through pain? Does everything feel fine? And then also it lowers my heart rate down, because right now, because I'm quite fit, but not running specific fit, even when I'm easy running, my heart rate's still quite high, so it's all new. I'm just learning as I go, doing what I'm told, and also trying to have some intuition as well.
Nice, how was that?
Yeah, I can't complain. It's another one done in it, which is good news. So yeah, I think this week I'm actually going to end up over 20 miles, and last week I did 16, so that's quite a, well, it's not a big jump, is it, from 16 to 20 for a professional runner, but for me it's pretty good. So yeah, solid enough, and I'll just keep going from here. There you have it, officially back run walking, hopefully running soon, and then sessions, and then long runs, and then who knows, maybe even a race this year. I've got no expectation of when I'll be back racing, but one thing is really, really, really positive, and that's I'm feeling better about it. I'm kind of over it, so to speak, even though there is a long way to go before I'm back at the level I want to be. And importantly, I've kept positive, we've kept videos coming on the channel, I've documented this journey, and that is the end of Down But Not Out. I was down, I'm not out, I'm almost back. It's not the most catchy title in the world, but it's served a purpose, it's kept me energized, it's kept me and Charlie getting together and making some videos, and now I'll be gone and out the picture, and we'll get back to some elite running. content on this channel. But seriously, thank you so much for supporting the journey. Thank you to the sponsors that have still continued to get on board and support the recovery journey, because not a lot of people want to get involved with a guy who can't run for 6 months. That's just the truth of the situation. So those that have been involved, thank you so much, because it's much appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed the series. If you're injured, I hope you've been able to take something from it. If you're not, shows you've got to look after yourself, try not to get injured, and if you're ever running world indoors, don't get spiked from behind. See you in the next one.